radio. Shout it.
Fellas, first of all, talk to me about how y'all came together, though, man. I mean, what was it that made y'all say, you know what, fellas, it's time to go ahead and get together, start this new project? Had y'all already worked together previously, but what was the tipping point that made y'all do a whole project?
Well, I'm smiling under this mask because of that compliment from the OG right here. You know, they can't see that, but I mean, I've been working with Diamond since before my career started. We developed a relationship when I was just really trying to get on. And Diamond has always been gracious, and he's always been somebody as a hip-hop fan that I've been a fan of, that I know as an architect. And whenever he does a new project, he's always reaching out to me. So I feel honored to be a part of one of the artists that Diamond always reaches out to. And then, you know, I have the show People's Party where I interview people up on Up Rock's video. And so before we had Diamond come in for an interview, he sent me a bunch of tracks. And I just wanted to show him the love and the respect for the fact that he even still sent me tracks like that. So I was like, I'm gonna surprise him. I'm gonna record to all of them.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying? And I got him on a Friday. I got like 10 tracks on Friday. I think I recorded to 8 of them by Saturday. You know, and it was just, you know, ideas. It wasn't, they weren't all fleshed out songs, but I was like, let me just get something down on every track. And when I listened back before I played it for him, I'm like, well, this sounds like it could be an album. This sounds like the seed or the genesis of an album. So just in that time space, in that time period, it was a very quick process. We decided to try to do a record together, and we were really on track to release it last year. But we had COVID, we had the pandemic, everybody's priorities got shifted up a little bit. So we had to pull back, and then we just found a way to do it this year.
Exactly. How did COVID affect y'all's creative process, man?
Other than not being able to go into the studio the way we were going to the studio prior to COVID, it didn't really affect me. Because basically most producers are typically, I don't want to say loners, but most producers are typically, they stay to themselves anyway, and they make beats, whether it's in the studio or in the house. So the idea of being in the house, you know, it was really not a big deal to producers. It didn't really affect the creativity, but you know, the only thing it really affected, like I said, was just there was no more big congregations in studios. You know what I mean? Other than that, create creatively, not for me.
And for me, I mean, I'm always prolific in the studio, but as well as on the road. So once the Roots took the Jimmy Fallon gig, I became the most touring rapper. I was doing over 200 shows a year, every year for 20 years.
What?
Yeah, and I didn't understand the impact that had on my body, on my mind, because it became second nature to me. I mean, I was really on the road that whole time, and when COVID happened in March, it was the first time in 20 years that I was in one place for more than 2-3 months at a time. Like, that's the first time I was in one place for more than a month. And so for me, it radicalized and revolutionized every single way that I moved. And so I'm glad I had the project with Diamond coming. I'm glad I had the podcast People's Party. The first thing I did, the theme song to People's Party is a record I did with Boots Riley back in the day. And I was never able to get with Boots to do a video and release it. And so the first thing I did was me and Boots filmed ourselves on our iPhones. Because we remember that time last March, no one knew what was going to happen.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to be in a room with anybody. You know what I'm saying? So
I feel you.
I was just on my iPhone by myself,
Yeah.
being creative. I started doing IG lives and followed the lead of D Nice and other DJs. And I'm a celebrity DJ. Diamond's a real DJ. You know what I'm saying? I'm a celebrity DJ. You know what I'm saying? People come to hear my selection and see what I'm into.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I got to give it up to the DJs like D Nice and Kid Capri and DJ MOS and other people who I follow, Maceo, who took that IG space and that Twitch space and made it into something. Natasha Diggs. What they've done with Soul on the Horn is just amazing.
So now, were you based out of New York during COVID? I
was in LA, so I was staying at like small beach hotels along the coast. I did that for like 2-3 months, and then I went to I was out there doing it. I was by myself though. That was a strange time because that was the first time in my life, in my adult life, that I spent that much time alone. That I spent that much time away from family. That I spent that much time off stage.
Right.
You know, luckily in LA you could still get weed delivery because weed delivery and alcohol delivery that was considered essential items in LA at that time.
Damn right.
For real, it was. I couldn't get sunscreen, but I could get weed. You know what I'm saying? But then Dave Chapelle started doing shows in his hometown of Ohio, Yellow Springs, Ohio. And so I was able to catch a flight out there. Dave had like a jet going back and forth, bringing entertainers from LA. So I was able to catch a flight out of Yellow Springs in July.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I've been since then. The first, you know, I was really in Ohio the whole time. And Diamond took a couple of trips up to Yellow Springs and rocked out with us this summer. So we were able to reconnect this summer, courtesy of Mr. Chapelle.
What was the vibes in the studio, though, fellas, when y'all were finally able to reconnect and get in there and just turn it all the way up?
I mean, we started out separate, him in Atlanta, me in New York.
That's right.
But then Diamond made a trip, I believe this time last year, around January last year, to New York. And we hung out. We went to did some
like old times.
Did some partying. You know what I'm saying? Like by that time I had recorded most of it. So we got in the studio together to go over the mix. And we spent a couple of days in the studio doing that, and that was a good time. And that's how we got Busta on the album, because we happened to be working upstairs when he was working downstairs. So he came and just listened, and he was like, I got to be a part of it. Shout out Sky Zoo and Nico Wiz and Naire All Day and John Forte and Busta Rhymes and everybody else who worked on this with us.
And Young Afro.
Yeah, shout out to Young Afro, yes indeed.
Let's just talk about longevity, though, fellas, because, I mean, y'all are still operating on a high level after 20 years of being able to do this stuff, man. So how do you feel still having a fan base that's receiving y'all strongly to this day, as well as staying down and continuing to keep your legacy growing?
I just feel real blessed. When I came in this game, had a certain idea of, you know, what I wanted my sound to sound like and everything. And then like many artists, and I don't know, Diamond, you could speak to this if you went through the same thing as a producer and as a rapper, but I went through a phase in which I felt like I established myself as an underground rapper. People knew my sound and everything, and I started to experiment. Started to do records with other type of people, because as a creative, you want to grow. You want to grow, especially if you start making money from it.
Yeah.
You start using those resources to make and sometimes the fans aren't always ready to go with you on that journey. And so I think if you stay in it long enough, you get to come back. And you get to be like, you know what? Okay, I tried that. That worked there.
Yeah.
And got me a new fan base there.
Yeah.
That didn't work so much there. Let me pull back from that. You know what I'm saying? And so
trial and error.
That's right. And so I'm blessed that in this age, I'm not a young person. I'm in my 40s.
Yeah.
And so for me to still be relevant, for me to I just did Jimmy Fallon this week. I'm doing Beehive show right now.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying? We just shot a video last night with Sky Zoo. You know, for the project. Shout out to Stolly and Big Crit and Rock and everybody, Corey Mo and everybody who came through.
Oh, the fam. You had the fam in that thing.
You know, Soul Messiah, Dress the Beatnik. You know what I'm saying? Sure. You know, these for us to, these are people that I've known my whole career.
Yeah.
I mean, Crit is younger than us, you know what I'm saying? But Corey Mo, Rock, Soul Messiah, when I first was coming to Atlanta, Apache Cafe back in the day before my career, when they used to have the, I don't remember what it was called, but Chocolate Soul something. You know how y'all get down in Atlanta. You know how the Black conscious community get down in Atlanta. You know
the Apache Cafe,
But when I used to come down to check out my man Rubik's and DJ Drama when he was still Tyree from Philly back then. You know what I'm saying? I remember Dress the Beatnik was there. Hosting these parties, and Diamond invited him. I was like, who invited Dress the Beatnik? But I was like, it don't matter who invited him. He gonna be there anyway.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And so I just feel blessed that at this stage, I can now, for my fans and for myself, say, okay, I'm good at a certain style of hip hop.
Yeah.
I'm good at the hip hop that I grew up on. I can reach out to Diamond D, an architect of that sound.
Yeah.
And we could do a project. You know what I'm saying?
Now, Talib, as a true fighter, man, somebody that's always stood up for black people going through stuff. 2020 was not only the year of COVID-19, but it was a revolution that was taking place in 2020 as well, you know, with George Floyd and the riots that took place down here in Atlanta and across the world. What was going through your mind at that time, and you as well, Diamond?
We have a record on our project, Gotham. The name of the album is Gotham, called Chillin' While Black.
Come on now.
Right? and Diamond's rapping on that record as well.
All right now, Diamond.
All right,
So
back on the mic.
All right now.
I was listening to that record this morning, and there's a line when I mentioned the year. Because we recorded it, at the start of 2020.
Yeah.
We recorded it before George Floyd.
That's right.
And I mentioned the year, and I'm like, the rule, you're not supposed to say the year on the record because it dates the record. And I'm like, damn, why did I do that?
Yeah.
Why did I? Because I know that rule.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I know you're not supposed to date the record,
Yeah.
but I did it anyway, because at that time we was moving at such a fast clip.
Yeah.
I thought the record was about to drop, but who knows what's in the future? COVID
Facts.
happened. And so now I'm listening to the record a year later. I'm like, why did I say 2020? But then I was like, you know what? I must have said it for a reason. Things happen because they're supposed to happen.
That's right.
So
It's a symbolic year.
it's a symbol. It's
that
what
was
you
that
just
year.
said. And from
Exactly.
what you just said,
Yeah.
I was like, this is why, because that record captures a place and time. On that record, I'm not talking about George Floyd because that didn't happen yet. I'm not talking about Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery. I'm not talking about any of that. On that record, we're talking about Tamir Rice.
Right.
We
People
talking
who were
about
killed prior to
yeah. We
Exactly.
talking about Sandra
The same
Bland. We
story,
talking about
different
Mike
people.
Brown.
Yeah.
We talking about Freddie Gray on this record.
Yeah.
And so it's like, this is one of the things that I hate to be right about.
Yeah.
I hate to be early on this. I'd rather be
Yeah.
wrong. I'd rather make a record like that and they be like, Kweli was tripping.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? But the fact is that we can make this record now. And I can make The Proud 20 years ago, and Public Enemy can make Fight the Power 20 years before that.
Exactly.
And Ozzy Brothers could make Fight the Power 20 years before
Exactly.
that. And
it'll still resonate.
that's right. And so the job of socially conscious artists and social activism and justice is not a destination where it's like we are done. We're not gonna see the end of racism and bigotry and police abuse in our lifetime. We're not gonna see it.
Yeah.
The key is to make it better for the people who gotta live through it by telling these stories.
How do you all feel when was it that you came to that conclusion that this shit ain't gonna never change?
For me, it was as a very young man.
Yeah.
For me, it was, in high school. You know what? It was in high school. There was during the first Bush invasion of Iraq.
Iraq, yeah.
And I was maybe 14 or 15, and it was very upsetting to me at that time because I couldn't understand why we would do this.
Exactly.
I didn't quite understand the scope of American imperialism, and so. The school I was in, there was a teacher who agreed with me, and the teacher said I'm gonna lead a protest, and I was going to school in Connecticut at the time, and we went to Hartford, I believe, to the state capitol to protest the invasion of Iraq.
Yeah.
And it was like the teacher and like 5 students, and we were out there in the cold, and no one cared. People kept driving past us. You know what I'm saying? No one. And I remember thinking, I had in my brain the activism and the marches of the '60s were romanticized.
Yeah.
I was really into that as a kid. I would watch movies and read stuff about the '60s, and I wish I was a part of that.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to have that in my life. And in the early '90s, it wasn't like that. So I was happy when I saw the Green Revolution in the Middle East, which
Yeah.
sparked Occupy Wall Street, which
Yeah.
sparked Black Lives Matter protests.
Yeah.
And when I see this generation that's taking protests and not passive protests, you know what I'm saying? But really, like in the spirit of people look at Dr. King as passive, but Dr. King and people in
Passive
Atlanta
aggressive.
should know that Dr. King was shutting down highways,
Exactly.
shutting down stores on holidays.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? There's not passive about that. And so when I see people like Black Lives Matter and other people take up this thing, this type of tactic, I'm like, they just right there in the tradition.
Yeah.
Of course, we need our Malcolm X's and our anti-fascists and other people who are willing to maybe not be as passive to balance it out because, like the Malcolm X character said in the Selma movie, they want to deal with you, talking to King, because they don't want to have to deal with me.
Yeah. Well, y'all able to, step into some of these protests in 2020? Because I know me personally, I had to go ahead and slide out here down here in Atlanta and see what the hell was going on. And to my chagrin and to my surprise, there were more white people protesting for black lives than black people protesting for black lives. I'm talking about straight down Marietta Street right outside. That was a beautiful thing to see. It was one nation under a groove trying to move the culture forward at the same time. But that was a surprising thing to me to actually witness that.
Younger people.
Yeah, and it was younger people too.
Correct.
Young
people.
Okay.
They don't have the hang-ups that their parents had.
Exactly.
A lot of young people, young white people, they love hip hop.
Exactly.
You can't love hip hop and hate black people.
Those are big old facts.
So yeah,
right there.
it definitely was a lot more white people protesting, especially in 2020.
Exactly.
Definitely. I saw that.
When y'all saw that energy, did that impact the creative process at all?
I mean, we recorded most of this before those protests.
Okay.
But it did impact the way in which we wanted to release it. I mean, and as far as like white people, for me, for this 2020, the George Floyd protest, the Breonna Taylor protest, stuff like that. Again, I was separated from my family, my community, and I would see my daughter on Instagram in them streets in Brooklyn protesting, and she, this is my 21-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
And the first thing I was thinking is like, where's your mask? You know what I'm saying? Why, how y'all out there without the mask? And me and her, me and her have had conversations, and she's a lot more cognizant of the COVID and being in super spreader situations, which she should not be doing. You know what I'm saying? But how could I criticize her for wanting to be out there in that time in this era? At her age, I probably would have been doing the same thing.
Exactly.
I mean, she's still my daughter. You know what I'm saying? As far as on the ground protesting, I was out a lot more in 2016 around the Mike Brown. I went to Ferguson a lot. I was definitely out a lot in Occupy Wall Street era. I was out. And what I've noticed,
Ferguson, that's where you and Don Lemon got into it.
Yeah. Shout out to Don Lemon.
Yeah, shout out to Don Lemon.
Watch People's Party episode with Don Lemon. We talked about that and passed that up.
Yeah, I remember that.
But what I noticed is this protest, being pro-black is about equality.
Yeah.
Being pro-white is about you a Nazi or KKK. And that's the difference. And so anybody of any race could be pro-black.
Yeah.
So when you see people in the streets protesting pro-black, it's not a tribalist thing. It's just for black people. This is for people who believe in equality. Exactly. It doesn't matter if you gay, straight, black, white, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, atheist, whatever. As long as you down for this pro-blackness, as long as you down for this equality, then we could get it in. And when you go to the front lines, like you said, to a lot of people's surprise, you see communities, you see religious, like you see maybe Catholics down there. You see a large amount of queer people and gay people, because in a lot of ways they meet all the criteria.
They catching hell too.
They meet all the criteria because they catch it, especially black women who are gay.
Yeah.
They already a woman, they black and they gay. And that's why you see sometimes it looks disproportionate. Yeah. And the women who started Black Lives Matter, they fit all those three things. So those things are used from the powers that be and for people who just don't get it to smear them. Exactly. They be like, oh, well, they trying to destroy the family, or they gay and this and that and this. And it's like the people who say that, you have your right to your opinion, but I don't see y'all down there.
Come on,
I don't
now.
see y'all doing anything for the community. I don't see y'all doing any work. And I'm saying this as a straight black man.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Now I see straight black males there.
Yeah.
We are there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it's not like we are there because we know that even when the sisters and the gay people and all these people sometimes take the lead, you know what I'm saying? That we stand in solidarity with them. You know what I'm saying? Back in the 60s, it was the straight black men who took the lead. Yeah. It was the Malcolm X's and the Martin Luther Kings.
That's right.
And I have no problem with our movement for liberation and our black agenda being more diverse.